If you stumbled into an infinite extra-dimensional maze of drab yellow office walls, moist carpet, and droning fluorescent lights, what would you do? In this How to Beat video, I'm gonna break down the mistakes that the ASYNC Research Institute made, what you should do, and how to beat the extra-dimensional entities in Backrooms. In June 1990, a researcher with the ASYNC Research Institute, Naren Warren, is separated from his group and becomes lost in the Backrooms, a labyrinthine extra-dimensional space containing the chaotic expanse of dull yellow rooms, fluorescent lights, long corridors, and malformed furniture. While attempting to call for rescue, Naren is chased and attacked by an unseen entity. The ASYNC scientists watch the recovered footage of the incident, collectively all letting out a giant sigh of relief that none of them went in there to help him. We cut over to Clark, a divorced alcoholic owner of a failing furniture store. I'm gonna cut out a lot of drivel here. You're welcome. One night, while watching TV before sleeping on a mattress that he will sell as brand new tomorrow, the TV randomly switches to a strange camera POV looking at a yellow office space, followed by more power disturbances that have been plaguing the store recently. This prompts him to flip-flop the circuit breakers to power cycle the lights. When the lights failed to turn back on, he notices a barely visible light emanating from a thin slit in the wall. When he puts his hand on it, his hand flows through the wall, as if it wasn't even real, just a mirage, a projection of sorts. Clark steps through. The other side is basically a super office space filled with mostly useless, deformed furniture. Oh, thank God, he can leave through the same wall. I thought this would be a one-way trip. Well, let's not push our luck. And he went back in. Buddy, this situation is way above your pay grade. Hell, tossing fries and Mickey D's is above your pay grade. After taking one look at this maze, I would be worried I might not be able to find my way back. At least bring a rattle can, trail markers, a Sharpie, something to indicate where the exit is and where I've been. Clark is in no mental state to give a rat's about self-preservation. He might be drunk right now.
Somebody's poisoned the water hole.
He continues deeper into the upside-down version of the office space labyrinth, where he finds a power cable leading up to somewhere, right next to a camera that's POV must be the exact POV that he saw on his TV earlier. Strange. Further in, he finds a hidey hole in the wall with a backpack stashed full of recordings and a badge from a Naren Warren, Q3, Magnet Systems R&D, Field Operations Engineer, ASYNC Research Institute. This doesn't seem like a good sign. So what does Clark do here? Shoves the backpack to the side and crawls through to the other room. A backpack full of recordings, tapes, floppies, a literal pile of information that researchers of this space collected. One VHS literally has the words encounter on it, and you shoved it away so you could crawl into another drab yellow office room like the 100 before it? Insane. Personally, I've seen enough of this place. I'd have grabbed the bag and headed for the exit so I could review the tapes in safety. Tapes which assuredly contain evidence of what this space is, what's going on, the entities, the deaths, who the researchers in the ASYNC Research Institute is. It should go without saying you're in an unknown world which, for all you know, could be hostile in some way. That backpack could very well save your life. If not from the entities inside the back room, then from a secretive research institute that may be willing to murder you to keep it a secret. By making copies, distributing them to release on a dead man's switch, you secure your survival. Should you run into these potentially armed researchers, or should they locate you in real life based on the camera footage that they captured of you inside this space. On the other side of a tunnel, Clark finds a fake parakeet, royal chair, which he used in the ad he made yesterday. How are they in here? Strange. Behind on the other side, something destroys the paperboard figure. Clark panics and runs up the slope and through the tiny door, miraculously finding his way back to the exit and back into the real world. How lucky. He easily could have gotten turned around with a dead end and lost his way entirely. On his way out, he quickly snags a stool. Smart man. Capitalizing on the free furniture, which you can sell for 100% profit. I just wish the portal wall was on the floor level, so we didn't have to drag each piece up the stairs every time. You might be thinking, what's the point? We haven't seen a single customer this entire movie. That's probably because his prices suck for the shit that he's selling. But with the 5-finger wholesale discount that he's getting, he can massively undercut his competition for the same margins. Sure, a lot of the pieces will require a little adjusting to even out, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Finds an infinite extra-dimensional labyrinth, gets extremely wealthy off it. Kinda reminds me of that 11/22/63 movie, where James Franco goes back in time to stop the Kennedy assassination, where the man running the diner, who was also using the time portal, procured low-cost, tasty burger meat at a fair wage to sell back into the highly inflated future.
I saw that movie. I thought it was bull.
My dumb AI was telling me to not sell extra-dimensional furniture to unsuspecting families. ASYNC is walking around in full hazmat suits, and Clark just dragged an upholstered stool out of a moist biological nightmare to put it beside the register. That thing needs a containment chamber, not a clearance sticker. That. I'm down bad, it's my money, and I need it now. Sounds great and all, but unless the furniture replenishes, this plan is kaput. Because I'm not risking my life traveling deeper and deeper into the maze to sift through misaligned crap. I'll just take the hit on the margins versus getting lost in that hellhole. Who knows how stable the wormhole portal is though? I would have to be real down bad to risk it. Better yet, invest in a robot. This is 1990 something, I think. Sandlot was based in 1962, and those kids made an erector set robot to steal a baseball. I would think that you could figure something out to fetch furniture without actually going in. That or hire the 90s equivalent of college hunks moving junk. Offer the local paper boy a quarter or something. The next thing Clark does is map out a tiny portion of it on a piece of paper, and then shows this to his shrink. How is she going to help you?
Are you intoxicated right now?
Of course she's gonna think you're on drugs again. This is the time before ubiquitous AI falsery. Videotape it. Which you wouldn't have had to do had you taken the bag full of research tapes at the beginning. Nor would you have to risk the lives of the innocent young couple who helped him film his store's ad. I mean, Clark, you literally witnessed something else in there attack the cutout person. The mere fact that the bag of research tapes was abandoned is evidence of something going horribly wrong for the owner. This is a realm beyond our own, which we know nothing about, which sure as hell isn't Narnia. It's dangerous. I guess Narnia was dangerous too. I never watched it. You get the point. It's all good. Clark came prepared. He's got rope, a little map he drew, and he taped up an outline around the portal so they don't have to bang on walls to find it. Yeah, he totally came prepared. All this equipment is useless anyways, because all they need to do is put the camera on the erector set robot, drive it around a little bit, and come back. Do a little bit more next time, maybe a little bit more after that, so on so forth. They could build their own research bag of tapes with very little risk, from the safety of a few lazy boys. The crew enters the back rooms, eventually making their way deep into an unexplored zone. A zone that is at the end of a very steep long tunnel ramp. Right. I think our research can be concluded here.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
From what they've seen, it's all mostly been the same brand of strange. There's no need to amp the risk up with rappelling off a bed frame down a tunnel. Maybe if I saw a pot of gold at the bottom, and only if I had a couple more trusted bros to yank me back up. I don't trust Clark and Catherine to pull me up. Catherine's working on 10 reps of knee push-ups at Pilates. Breath control, and whatever the hell this is not gonna pull me up 40 yards fast if a hobo or a monster's down there. And Clark's liable to blow his L5 out after 2 hard yanks. I'm not doing it. Bobby descends into the pit. It stinks, it's full of laundry and trash. This area makes everything else that we've seen look pristine. My initial instinct is that this is a dump site for victims, and we should leave. Looks like I was right. Clark and Catherine managed to get Bobby pulled up, but they can't get the knot off in time. Wait, how is there loose rope dangling down into the tunnel? When they pulled him up, there was no leftover slack, and if there was, they should have pulled the line up so that what was down there could not grab it as it did. Clark and Kat failed to hold on. The entity gives one more hard tug on the line, and the bed that it was attached to flies forward, knocking them both down into the pit too. Bobby looks super dead, so Kat and Clark both scramble, getting hopelessly separated and lost in the process. Thank God he picked up the camera and kept it rolling. What was initially just yellow office spaces is now filled with more sets, and more entities.
I know, I'm way too startled!
Clark eventually hears Kat behind a random wall. She says that she can see him, like a one-way mirror wall of sorts. He sets the camera down to see if he can find another hidden portal door. No dice. From the camera's POV, someone picks it up. The last thing Clark hears is Kat yelling, "Behind you!" Around the same time, his therapist, Dr. Mary, comes to check on him at the store. It doesn't take long for her to find the portal in the basement. Inside, she finds a creepy mural of a shadow creature eating people. Certified apocalypto foreshadowing. Clark finds her pretty quickly. He seems to be doing fine, until they hear weird sounds coming from down the hall. The lights flicker, and Clark chokes her out. Mary wakes up tied to a chair in Clark's back room kitchen, sitting next to Six Eyes and two other deformed mannequin people. This ain't good. As a therapist, I wouldn't be going through basement portals to check on unhinged clients whom I habitually roleplay as their ex-wife. Just saying, that was dumb. Clark explains that he thinks this is another realm, an upside-down version of a misremembered reality. This place builds things, or actually more like it remembers them. The more times it remembers something, the less it does. Somewhere out there is a guy in a striped shirt, but here he's remembered. Just slightly wrong. Slightly? Okay. I'd be thinking real hard about an M60. I guess it wouldn't do me any good. This place builds randomly in random places and does a poor job of it. With my luck, the M60 would have a Y-shaped barrel pointing backwards. It would build what early AIs thought a gun looked like, and then stick it halfway into the ground. He says these beings feel no pain, have no ego, they simply exist, demonstrating this by stabbing one in the neck. He thinks in some ways they're an improvement on the original. The best part, he says, is that you can eat them. Okay, can we not do this? I really don't think Sticky Rice Man is an improvement. Maybe if you're vegan. Why did the entity creating the Backrooms not build weird food? Why did it make people food? Was it because Clark's view of people was that they were food? And because of his cannibalistic temptations, the entity derived this and then populated and built food people into the Backrooms? Think about it. How on earth are you gonna tell that these people were made of food unless you initially tried to eat them? And what's with his insistent cat being in the fridge? I'm telling you, Clark is a cannibal. Clark goes on to Scalp, who I'm sure is his wife in reality, so Mary can look the part when she's forced to do a little therapist roleplay exercise. Mary gives him some cold hard truth bombs, which kinda knocks him out of his self-rationalizing victim mindset. It actually works. It seems Clark's realization that this place wasn't healthy and that he was best sorting himself out and returning to reality caused whoever runs the Backrooms to get upset and sick a gigantic pirate Clark doppelganger on him. It's almost as if the Backrooms knew a perfect version of reality was about to leave and built its remembered copy to stop him. Dr. Mary gets chased into the maze, where she runs into another human paper cutout with a speaker attached to it surrounded by gas canisters. A trap set by the researchers, which she ran right into. In fairness, she has no idea what's going on. Pirate Backrooms Clark won't let her off easy though. Dr. Mary escapes into a narrow corridor leading into the researchers' hideout, where they gas her unconscious again. Man, she just can't catch a break. Should've stayed home. Mary wakes up in a holding cell being interrogated by the lead researcher, Phil. Phil says, I mapped out areas to the best of my abilities, and more, I'm convinced that nothing in our lifetime, maybe in all of recorded history, means more than the Backrooms. Really? That's your conclusion? Because, in my opinion, this place sucks. Where Mary goes wrong is thinking that she can leave after what she witnessed. Phil even tells her that they all want the same thing here, answers. He reveals that there's doors opening everywhere. They don't know why or what's connecting them, they all just sort of keep happening, and we don't know how to stop them. He asks her for help, to talk about what she experienced, to find answers, which is a miracle in and of itself. I'd think that they just gas you and be done. Why the hell are they asking some random therapist that wandered in, nearly got killed, and ran into you all within the span of an hour? What do you think that she knows that you don't already? Mary asks, what's gonna happen to me, Phil? Phil says, that decision is not up to me. Let me translate that for you. They're either gonna use you as bait in the Backrooms for research purposes, they're gonna put you in a cell, or they're gonna kill you. Mary, there's no going home, so you need to start playing ball. They obviously can't let you leave. You know way too much about this crazy place. They don't know the risks, and they understand that whatever it is, it's expanding. It seems to be poorly replicating the people who go inside it, and you may or may not try to go back unsupervised and inadvertently cause problems, or just talk and go public with the whole thing. Obviously, they're concerned about keeping the Backrooms under wraps, and you just going home is a liability. Why can't I just go home? I swear I won't tell anyone is not gonna work. You need to tell them that you would like a role here as a researcher. Maybe not as one of the people who goes into the Backrooms, but you would like to aid their research with the time that you've spent inside and what you know. You'll sign NDAs, keep your mouth shut, and would like to continue working on this under their supervision. Phil himself even kind of alluded to this opportunity. There is simply no way that you go back to your office and ask people how they feel after witnessing all this. You're gonna talk, or you're gonna go back. You're simply a liability unless you become an asset. This is akin to witnessing a murder as an undercover agent, and then telling the cartel leader that you would like to put in your 2 weeks now. I haven't delved into the extensive lore around the Backrooms. I'm kind of trying to base this off what we know from the movie and what's being shown here, what our characters can feasibly work from or think of. What Phil doesn't divulge is their working theory that the Backrooms is essentially a trans-dimensional memory copying machine. Not merely a copy machine, as the copies are malformed and degrade. Instances of matching objects from in real life and the Backrooms reveal that they're not copies from the same template, from the same thing. They were created from scratch, ranging from minor imperfections to complete abominations. Based on the post-credit scene of Naren's found footage just prior to the opening footage, it shows Pirate Clark's office, and furniture from his store in the Backrooms prior to Clark even entering. That is big bad news, because in conjunction with the fact that portal walls are incepting all over the place, it means simply not going into the Backrooms will not stop it from copying and expanding. Further evidence in the found footage of Mandarin being on the TV indicates that this is a worldwide phenomenon. Phil mentioning that the doors are opening everywhere is pretty grim. These portals are invisible, permeable walls that the researchers simply could not find or reasonably account for. Sure, they could possibly use advanced equipment to detect disturbances in the EMF fields, but those would be short range only. There's no way to stop the trans-dimensional portals from emerging. Based on the trend, the Backrooms presents an existential threat that could flood the world and permeate every dimensional border with our reality, swallowing the world as we know it. It's a potential reality that at some point in the future, there could be so many doors that you couldn't go anywhere without walking into the backrooms, where madness, chaos, and the violence of the entities residing inside it will consume everyone. Alright, I did indulge in some of the lore. Apparently, ASYNC is responsible for mapping the backrooms and creating a stable doorway known as the Threshold, which allows its scientists and researchers to move in and out of the liminal space freely. It's also what seems to have set off the chain of various portals opening up around the world. So it kinda sounds like maybe they should just close the door if the problem's getting out of hand. At least until you can create a valid hypothesis or actual goal for our research mission. So far, it doesn't seem like they've pulled anything beneficial out of the backrooms. To me, this is the crux of beating the backrooms. Sever their trans-dimensional portal. ASYNC created the Threshold by using its low-proximity magnetic distortion system to bridge a null zone by using compressed electromagnetic waves and strong magnetic fields. They accomplish this by focusing large amounts of energy into the Threshold to not only create it, but also to keep it open. So, unplug the machine, and the Threshold along with the subsequent portals may vanish. One theory here is that the worldwide portals are copies of ASYNC's original Threshold. Collapsing the original may cause the memory-copied thresholds to collapse or at least eventually deteriorate out of existence. At least that's what I thought until I watched First Contact, where it seems the Threshold's creation caused a total blowout and power failure of the low-proximity magnetic distortion system. Yet, the Threshold continued to exist. Theories suggest the Backrooms may have remembered the Threshold, a self-causality, if you will. Well, that's just great. So unplugging it won't work. Crude sabotage attempts won't work. Only through the power of advanced science could the Backrooms be vanquished.
Yes, science!
The low-proximity magnetic distortion system probably located a naturally weak boundary, a null zone, and forced it into resonance using powerful, precisely arranged electromagnetics. If the machine produced an oscillating field with this equation, then gradually increasing its amplitude at the null zone's resonant frequency could have forced the two realities, the two dimensions, into alignment. Once bridged, the Threshold may have become metastable, retaining its distorted geometry, like magnetized steel retains magnetization after the external magnet has been removed. This could explain why the Threshold can continue to exist even though the LPMDS is not active. The machine had supplied the energy required to open the connection, but the connection no longer requires that continuous power to remain flowing. So, to reverse the Threshold, ASYNC would need to reconstruct the original field and apply the same spatial pattern and frequency with a reversed polarity and a 180-degree phase shift. Ideally, the two fields will cancel. A feedback-controlled array of superconducting coils would continually adjust the counterfield as the portal contracted. ASYNC could then apply a decaying alternating field, essentially degaussing the residual distortion until the Threshold returned into an ordinary wall. If the Threshold behaves like a permanent topological defect, which could happen if ASYNC's experiment forced the boundary between realities into a new self-sustaining geometric configuration, field cancellation alone might not close it. The LPMDS may have effectively punched holes through two separate layers of reality and stitched their edges together. Removing the machine would not undo that stitch because spacetime would remain trapped behind an enormous energy barrier. If that's the case, then ASYNC would need to create an oppositely oriented anti-threshold beside the original, using the same field strength and geometry, but with its polarity, phase, and spatial orientation reversed. The two openings would possess opposite topological charges, which could theoretically annihilate when merged. Ideally, both would contract to a point and disappear, releasing their stored energy as heat and induced current, aka an explosion. The slight trick to this is that if the anti-threshold and the threshold were misaligned, they could tear open a much larger rupture between realities, which would suck.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Of course, anyone still inside the backrooms at the time that this was successfully executed would be permanently stuck on the other side, inside the backrooms. Like Mouse in the Matrix running into a brick wall. Should this fail, the world may be doomed to enter this place, get copied, and either perish from dehydration or hunger, be killed by their copy, or suffer something worse at the hands of the other entities that reside here. Nightmares induced from our reality. Ultimately, had our protags simply not walked into the disgusting hell maze, they would have survived, at least until it took over the world. Really, ultimately, the world's fate rests on ASYNC Institute doing the right thing and applying the correct science to close the threshold for good. I am optimistic. I do think that if they open this portal, they could close it. For that reason, I would say that the ASYNC Institute and the extra dimension itself in the backrooms could be beaten. Moral of the story: don't walk through trans-dimensional portals that go into office space hell.